they were extracting water from a far, so it was really laborious.
Wow.
Water, trying to keep.
Long before Homestead Rescue ever showed up on TV, Marty Raney was already building a life most people wouldn't even dare to imagine. Logging on, floating camps, living among bears, and raising a family deep in Alaska's unforgiving wilderness. But the rugged confidence you see on screen only scratches the surface. Behind it is a story that's far more intense, dramatic, and complicated than the show ever lets on. And in recent years, a mix of surprising controversies and personal setbacks has left many people wondering one thing: what really happened to Marty Raney? Marty Raney's story starts back on July 28, 1956 in North Bend, Washington, where he was practically born into nature. Even as a kid, city life never appealed to him. His childhood home sat at the end of Mount Si Road with the nearest neighbor a mile away. And for Marty, that was perfect. Growing up at the base of Mount Tenerife, he spent his days climbing, scrambling, and exploring with zero technical training, just a whole lot of curiosity and energy. By the age of 12 or 13, he was hiking 35 through the Cascades like it was no big deal. That pure love for the outdoors only grew stronger. So strong that at 16, he left school, picked up work as a logger, and still found himself craving even more wilderness. By 18, he made the move that would define his entire life. He headed for Alaska. His very first view of Alaska came from the cockpit of a 737. A moment he never forgot. A friend who worked for the airline pulled him up front as they lifted off, giving him a sky-high view of the rugged land he would someday call home. For Marty, it felt like looking down from the heavens at the place he was meant to be. When he finally arrived, his first Alaskan home wasn't even on land. It was a floating logging camp near Prince of Wales Island. Totally off-grid, literally bobbing on the water. Logging back then was tough, beautiful work. And Marty arrived just in time to experience the last era of that lifestyle. The trees were enormous. They'd cut them into 40 feet sections, lash them together into massive rafts, and build entire living spaces right on top. Houses, fourplexes, trailers. Everything sat on these floating platforms that crews towed from one isolated bay to the next. After marrying his girlfriend Molly Roll, Marty and Molly felt an irresistible pull to push even farther into the wilderness, farther from towns, traffic, and just about every comfort most people take for granted. They eventually built their first home near the shores of Chilkoot Lake, roughly 30 miles north of Hannes. It was a breathtaking spot, but they didn't choose it for the postcard views alone. The streams nearby were teeming with spawning salmon, practically offering a built-in food supply. But of course, salmon attract bears, and plenty of them. Marty later described those early days as downright chaotic, with massive brown bears roaming around like they owned the place. All of them fighting for the same shimmering coo salmon in the watershed. Together, Marty and Molly pushed through years of wilderness hardship, moving from one remote corner of Alaska to another, before finally settling outside Hannes. still very much in bear country. There, life together became as rugged and raw as the land around them. And before long, they welcomed 4 children. But those early years weren't easy. Marty worked endlessly just to keep food on the table for Molly and their newborn daughter, Melanie. And then came a terrifying moment. Molly went into labor out on the homestead, and a dangerous complication forced them onto an emergency bush plane bound for White Horse in the Yukon Territory. That's where Melanie was safely delivered. Marty would later talk about those days with total honesty, calling them true hardcore times. After long, back-breaking hours of logging, he'd come home exhausted, hungry, and thinner by the week, sometimes hoping he could catch a single salmon along the edge of Chilkoot Lake, just enough to feed himself and Molly for the night. Hard as it was, he often said those struggles shaped him in ways nothing else ever could. The Raneys welcomed their 3rd child, Misty, in 1979. The same year they packed up and moved to the Wasilla area. This new location, close to the shadow of Denali National Park, opened a door Marty had been inching toward for years. It was here that he stepped into the world of mountain expeditions. His first climb up Denali came in 1986. And it was an experience that stayed etched in his memory forever. Pushing toward the final 20 feet of the summit, he felt tears streaming down his face. Tears that instantly froze in the brutal cold. Standing at the very top of North America filled him with awe. There was no urge to cheer or plant a flag. Instead, he felt small, humbled, and overshadowed by 360 degrees of towering ridges and jagged, icy wilderness stretching endlessly in every direction. That raw, magnificent view matched the one he'd fallen in love with years earlier from the cockpit of a 737. The wild world, untouched and unforgiving, was exactly where he felt at home. By 1998, he was officially guiding expeditions. And when Alaska's fierce winters shut down climbing season, Marty simply shifted gears. He founded Alaska Stone and Log, turning his attention to building and restoring homesteads using the most fundamental materials: stone, timber, and grit. Living off the grid demanded courage and patience, but the Raneys embraced it. They grew to understand the land's rhythm, surviving without plumbing, heating systems, running water, or electricity. Over time, the harsh environment didn't just test them, it strengthened them. Throughout the 90s, Marty's deep knowledge of Alaska and his musical background made him a natural guide for documentary crews. He helped guide the team filming Alaska Spirit of the Wild in 1997. And 2 years later, for Climb Against the Odds, he wore several hats: climber, musician, and second cameraman. His real breakthrough, however, didn't come until 2013 when he appeared on Ultimate Survival Alaska, running from 2013 to 2016 on the National Geographic Channel. The show dropped elite survivalists into the heart of Alaska's untamed wilderness and told them more or less, good luck. Teams battled brutal terrain, unforgiving weather, and challenges that looked like they were designed by Mother Nature on a bad day. From the moment Marty appeared, he became a standout. And honestly, it wasn't hard to see why. He wasn't just playing the part of a rugged outdoorsman. He was one. After more than 4 decades of living off the land, he moved through that wilderness like someone who knew it personally. Viewers watched him hunt, fish, trap, and whip up shelters from natural materials as if he were simply tidying his own backyard. His toughness, quick thinking, and calm under pressure made him both a competitor to fear and a fan favorite to watch. The show earned massive attention for its raw edge of your seat look at Alaska's dangers. Cliff climbs that made palm sweat, trace across lethal terrain, and blizzards that seemed almost intentionally cruel. But perhaps the wildest twist was that there was no cash prize, no trophy, no giant check. It was all about pride and proving you could stand toe-to-toe with the Alaskan wilderness. Still, Marty's fame truly skyrocketed after Ultimate Survival Alaska ended. His next chapter arrived in 2016 when he became the beating heart of Homestead Rescue. The idea didn't start with him. The Discovery Channel approached Marty with a concept they described as a return to their early authentic boots on the ground style. What grabbed Marty was the mission. Real people, real problems, real solutions. No fake drama, just helping struggling homesteaders survive. Marty later explained that Discovery had done an incredible job finding participants, everyday people living off-grid for their own reasons, not the stereotypical doomsday types TV often gravitates toward. He praised the network for seeking out genuine families, trying to make a life beyond the reach of the modern world. After a month of mulling it over, his children, Misty and Matt, joined the effort, transforming the series into a full family operation. But Marty had one big condition: authenticity. He wasn't interested in scripts or staged conflicts. He wanted raw emotion, real stakes, and genuine interactions. And the producers agreed. Because Marty meets each homesteader for the first time when he arrives. Every moment plays out with real tension, real vulnerability, and real urgency. Compared to Ultimate Survival Alaska, Marty believes Homestead Rescue is the more authentic series. And the reason becomes clear once you see what the Raneys take on. Each episode introduces someone trying to live off the land, but falling short in dangerous ways. Food shortages, no clean water, wildlife threats, failing structures, or weather conditions that don't forgive mistakes. The Raneys don't swoop in as celebrities. They arrive as hands-on problem solvers. They analyze what's broken, identify exactly what the family needs most, and build a plan to transform the homestead into something safe, sustainable, and functional. Each family member brings a specialty. Marty is the master of the wild, hunting, tracking, trapping, building shelters, and reading the land like a familiar story. Misty is the sustainability expert, strengthening food systems through gardening and livestock. Matt is the craftsman, a builder capable of turning raw materials into sturdy, practical structures. Together, they become a lifeline, stepping in when people are on the brink and helping struggling dreamers turn pure survival into a real way of life. Throughout the series, we see the Raney family take on challenges that would overwhelm just about anyone. We're talking brutal weather, unpredictable wildlife, and Sudden setbacks that could wipe out months of progress in a single moment. But episode after episode, their determination never slips. Their mission stays the same. Help homesteaders reclaim their land, rebuild their future, and remind them why they started this journey in the first place. And by the end of each story, you can see the transformation families walk away with. A homestead that's more sustainable, more efficient, and far more livable. All thanks to the Raneys' experience, creativity, and relentless work ethic. When it comes to construction, Marty and his family are known for their resourcefulness. They do everything possible to repurpose whatever they find on site, turning scrap, discarded materials, or forgotten structures into clever, practical solutions. But when a problem is too big or too dangerous to solve with materials on hand, the team turns to the network for support. If the situation demands a major upgrade, Discovery steps in with the budget needed to make those significant improvements. Homestead Rescue has earned praise for its emphasis on self-sufficiency and sustainable living, especially at a time when many viewers are thinking about living closer to the land. But like most reality shows, it hasn't escaped criticism. Some viewers argue that a few scenes feel overly dramatic or staged for television, sparking debate about how real the rescue process truly is. In 2018, a dramatic incident involving a drone operator thrust Marty Raney into the spotlight for an entirely different reason.